Posh and Plastic. I am your co-host, Kylie, and I'm joined by your other co-host and the Nicole to my Paris, Amber.
Hi, guys.
Oh, Paris. So you said you watched the new Paris show, right?
Oh, yeah. So, Paris in Love, I just found out there was a new season dropped. I thought they were promoting the first season again. So, there's a season 2, and I started the first episode yesterday, and I'm already loving it.
Oh, I need to watch that so much because
Yes.
Phoenix is in it, right?
Yeah. So, it kind of centers around like her surrogacy and like the journey to it, which is like really exciting because we didn't get much to
Love
it. So,
it.
I'm super, it's like a vloggy kind of style. That's how she does Paris in Love. She like kind of did a vloggy style, but obviously more docu-series of like
Yeah.
her wedding and up to it. So that was season 1. And then this one, it seems to be centered around the surrogacy and like the birth of her first, like her son. So,
Yeah, I saw the first season and I appreciated that because that was about the time I was planning my wedding. And
oh, yeah.
so one of my idols is getting married at the same time as me. So it was pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. I mean, and I will say, like, after the documentary, like, as much as I want to love Kathy Hilton from Beverly Hills, because she did a season of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, I can't like her.
She
Not,
did?
oh, yeah, she did. It wasn't there's a current season running. Unless I'm blanking, I'm pretty sure it was last season.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I
No,
didn't
it
really
was.
care for her after watching the first season of I Love Paris because she refused to watch Paris documentary. And for your daughter to put her trauma out there for the world to hear, and little do you know, you caused a lot of it and you refusing to acknowledge it or even listen to it.
Not only is she like not acknowledging it at all, but Paris is an activist about it. She's gone to DC. We saw her in her documentary on YouTube. Was it YouTube, I
Mm-hmm.
think? The first one. We saw
Yep.
her go to Washington and, you know, fight what's going on. So it's just like a giant slap in the face that your mom wouldn't watch to support that. You know what I mean?
Right. I uh More power to Paris because the way she just stays strong despite all she's been through and what I see continues to go through.
Yeah,
More
I mean,
power to
after,
her.
yeah, exactly. But we won't jump the gun on Paris. So,
No, no. Anywho, um, welcome to the podcast, episode 3. If you are listening on the first day, welcome. And if this is your first episode you're listening to, we have 2 more that were released today before this. Go ahead and give those a listen as well. And we have a giveaway we're doing right now. If you want to see the prize, if you're entered into the drawing, go ahead and visit our Instagram, Posh and Plastic. But we're also giving you a little freebie if you rate and review the podcast. We're giving you an episode, a bonus episode, a free bonus episode. So that is 4 episodes. How many times can I say episode right now? But we're talking about Britney Spears. So if you want access to that, all you have to do is give us a rating and a review on this podcast and either send it to us in the DMs or you can email it to us at poshandplastic@gmail.com. All right. Amber, you want to drop the line?
all right, guys, it's time to wind up, wind down, and let's hit rewind.
Okay, so today I am discussing the explosion of the World Wide Web. And my sources are computerhistory.org, National Science Foundation, Vapor 95, YouTube, and pewresearch.org or pewresearch.org. I'm not sure. While its mainstream launch happened in the 90s, and that is going to be most of our conversation today, I cannot possibly start there. I'm sorry, I just can't. So I'm going to keep this as brief as possible, but the internet's history has to be explained from the beginning. I read through a whole timeline of 40 years worth of history. It's a lot of big words and names and acronyms, so I'm just going to tell you some of the bigger achievements. All right, so let's hit rewind again and go a little further back in time. So the internet has been in existence actually since the 1960s. It just looked very, very different. And this was in the days when computers were also just being developed in the early stages. For reference on how unrealistic it was to own a computer in your home back then, the first computer sold for $18,000. So that was in the early 60s, mind you. So today, that would be just under $180,000. So depending on where you live, that could be a small house for you. In the 70s, some notable things. Steve Wozniak, who was the underappreciated Steve of Apple, invented something called a blue box, which is basically a number pad. So those little pads on your computer, like if you have the extended keypad and you have like the number pad on the right side,
Mhm.
he invented that.
Shout out. I use that every day. I'm an accountant.
Or like even I had something similar to the blue box as a kid in school when you like punch your code in for lunch. Did you have one of those?
Mhm.
Yeah. Steve Wozniak invented that, ladies and gentlemen. Also, a huge move is made in 1973 by the well-known tech company Xerox as Bob Metcalfe developed local area networks, LANs, which become known as the Ethernet. And the 70s is also when Apple comes about by Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs. All right, in the 80s is when the internet started about and was at major institutions. This is also when computer games first came into debut, and it's still not mainstreamed in the everyday home. In 1984, Apple announces the Macintosh, which starts gaining a buyership. And also, in terms of the internet, domains are developed. So that's when we get the .com, .org, and .gov. We have so many more now, but those are the first three. Okay, so now to the 90s. In 1990, the internet is now known as the net, and it's starting to make its way across the globe. At this point, it has over 300,000 hosts in countries including Argentina, Austria, Belgium, Brazil, Chile, Greece, India, Ireland, South Korea, Spain, and Switzerland. And nowadays, we have a website for any thought you might have, but it wasn't always this way. Instead of search engines, we had search tools like Archie, Gopher, and WAIS or WISE. Institutions like the National Library of Medicine, Dow Jones, and Dialogue are also accessible online. Then the World Wide Web was born. This new digital world makes it easier to access information, text, images, and media files. On August 6th of 1991, the first web page was born. So the WWW is older than both of us. That is wild.
My gosh. But in the same year at least. So, I mean, shout out to both
Yes,
of us, right?
just a few months older. The web grew, and soon millions were buying computers and the internet to come online. Back in those days, accessing the internet was a task, event, whatever you want to call it. It was as though you were actually going somewhere. And now we pretty much are always online. Like it basically runs through our bodies and we can't function without it now. The time was known as the information age. The internet started expanding out of the academia world and started going mainstream. And this really changed the world and honestly how industries worked as well. Companies had easier access to reaching audiences as the internet allowed them to share more information about their companies and their products online. It also allowed people to shop online, talk to friends, and do research on limitless topics without having to leave their home ever. So I found a hilarious ancient educational video on the internet. We'll link it. It's called The Kid's Guide to the Internet. It's one of those. Do you remember this?
I don't think so. This is funny.
Oh, your face looked like you remembered it.
No, it made me think about something else. I'm gonna see if you bring it up, but if you don't, then I'll tuck it in.
Okay. So this is one of those training videos, and they tried to make it cool, but it's really cheesy. So yeah, we're definitely going to put this in our show notes. Take a look at it. There was a jingle and everything, and it had it set as if it was a family sitcom. Honestly, some of it made me feel like I'd actually seen this video before. The video introduced the terms like surfing the World Wide Web, email, which means being able to talk with people from all over the world, and news groups. And they even instruct typing in http://www dot to access a web page.
Oh my god, do you remember when you had to do that and you couldn't not
Mm-hmm.
put the HTTP?
Yep.
Oh my god.
Oh, this also introduced internet service providers. And the first internet service provider, aka ISP, was called The World. But do you remember the OGs from what we remember?
Oh
American
yeah.
Online or AOL?
Oh yeah.
We also had Netscape, Earthlink,
I don't remember
or
Earthlink, but Netscape.
yeah, or even Kmart had their own blue light.
Oh yeah. Oh my god, throwback.
So once you have an ISP, you use the quote browser to quote surf the web, and you'd have to go get a CD-ROM for whichever service you were going to use. Then you get an account and you pay, and then you get an actual Ethernet connection to the phone line. It was a lot to get online back then.
Yeah.
In this video, the kids go on the White House's brand new website and they write a letter to President Bill Clinton.
Oh my god.
They also explain how to gain internet connection through dial-up, throwback. Search engines were a huge benefit to having internet access. So Yahoo was the first major search engine. You go to the website, you type in a phrase or a keyword, and the search engine would generate endless results of what you were looking for. And Yahooligans was the kids' version of Yahoo, and it allowed kids a safer, kid-friendly version of a search, and even had games on their website. Did you ever use Yahooligans?
Oh yeah, I mean I had a Yahoo email, so I was attached to everything
Yeah,
Yahoo.
same. Yep. Eventually, Google, who is the top dog today, came out with theirs. And we also had Ask Jeeves, if you
Yes.
remember that one.
Oh god, yeah.
So the kids' video was also just handing out free advertising left and right. It showed websites like nickatnight.com and mtv.com, showing their websites for just about everything. In the 90s, this was mind blowing. Whereas if a company didn't have a website now, we would second guess giving them our time or money. With the internet, people were also able to commit the act of downloading. This is, in case you didn't know, where you take a file, whether it's text, image, or media, and you copy the file to your computer. Or now we do it on our phones and every device we have. Now we download like a billion times a day, both at work and home, but this was state of the art back then. Accessing news was a huge favorite for the folks using the internet. People could read up on current events, weather, and even the score on the big game. Kids loved playing games, going in the chat rooms, and emailing. The way to communicate got much easier with the internet as well. Before the information age, you could reach people by mail, phone, telegram, or the old-fashioned go to their house and knock on the door. Now there was the concept of emailing people. Back then, the E in email was capitalized, and there was a hyphen between the E and the word mail. This has now been updated to all one word, and the only time you would capitalize it is for grammar at the beginning of a sentence. So, emailing someone meant you logged onto the internet, went to your email hosting site, which would have been Yahoo, Hotmail, AOL, one of those, and you would send this person a virtual message. You need their email address, a message, and a subject. Once you press send, this message would go through the web and reach their email box where they would read it. This really changed society and allowed people to connect all over the world. And nowadays we take it for granted, but back then this was mind-blowing.
Oh, I take it for granted because all it's making me think about is my work email inbox.
Exactly. Like, we hate it now. We
I
hate it. But back then, this was amazing.
Yeah.
Chat rooms were also a new form of communication. You were able to create a screen name and enter a chat room where you'd be exposed to dozens of people from who knows where, and you would just chat. And you can make friends, you could troll people, you can meet your existing friends there and talk digitally. Now, this also caused worry for parents, as not everyone is honest about who they are in these chat rooms, and it can cause danger. Internet safety was definitely something instilled to us in the 90s. I don't think that's the case now. Another danger of the internet is the fact that anyone could post anything on the internet as it is not monitored. And that being said, there were inappropriate websites, resources with false information, and those pesky chat rooms. Many parents worried about their children going online, considering the dangers it presented, and some even required to supervise their kids, while others checked the browsing history or put parental blocks on websites not rated for kids. However, it was not all bad. Anyone could make a web page, which meant more opportunity for anyone to be able to achieve things. In order to make a web page, you would need to learn HTML coding, code the site the way you want it, and make sure the domain was registered with Network Services, who manages domain. As we've already mentioned, Yahoo was one of the most commonly utilized websites in the 90s, and it served as a search engine, email host, and news site. It was created by Stanford University grad students Jerry Yang and David Philo. Its original name was Jerry and David's Guide to the World Wide Web. Very Bill and Ted's, if you ask me.
Oh, yeah.
Yahooligans was then made as a kid's version to the site, and it included games you could play. And I remember back in elementary school, they would have game websites blocked. So you could go onto Yahooligans, and that was your way around playing games. So it was like cheating the system. All right, so the internet is established. Let's go through a timeline here for some important elements. In 1995, a little company called Amazon opens online, and it is known as Earth's biggest bookstore. It's now known to be basically fitting your every need, but back then they only sold books. Additionally, Craigslist and Match.com are added to the roster of websites available for browsing. This is also the year Microsoft launched Internet Explorer. Rest in peace.
I forgot that died. What, last year?
I think so.
Yeah, I think
it was last year. Either last year or earlier this year.
Yeah.
Which, while you're listening, was last year, because we're recording this in 2023.
Oh, yeah.
We're time traveling all sorts of ways here.
We can do that now.
In 1996, this was an interesting year as The Dancing Baby, which was the first online video, was released. I feel like we've all seen a version of this video. Look it up later, Amber, because you're going to be like, oh yeah. Because I had no idea, and then I looked it up and I was like, oh, I think I remember this. So everyone go look up The Dancing Baby of the 90s. This is also the year Hotmail launches, and Nokia also releases the first phone with internet capabilities. And I didn't think that happened till like 2003.
Me either.
But it happened in 96.
Go off.
All right, so 1997, a little guy named Google.com registers as a domain. At this time, its simplicity doesn't really sell when you have its direct competitor, Yahoo, having so much more to offer. But I remember liking the colors like of the logo, and I thought it was a fun word as a kid, so I like to use Google a lot.
Yeah.
We also had GoDaddy enter the game, but they were known as Jomax Technologies back then.
Oh.
Yeah.
GoDaddy confused me because the way that they like marketed it, it was confusing. I didn't know they were a search engine. They kind of provocatively advertised, if I remember correctly.
I don't think they are. I think they just joined the internet at this time, but they're a domain hosting site, at least now.
Oh, maybe that's what
So
it was
if
then.
you want a website, you can just register through them.
Oh, no, that's what they did do. I'm sorry. They weren't a search engine. That's what they were. They were a domain service site. Sorry.
Yeah. No worries. 1998, not much is going on. AOL releases 4.0, and Oxford Dictionary adds the word spam in reference to junk mail with the intent to harm. That is my definition, not theirs, so don't quote me on it. But in email terms, that word spam is added to the dictionary. So the internet is making an imprint on society. In 1999, we have Yahoo acquired GeoCities for $3.6 billion. So not only can they give us news, stock market updates, sports scores, and our mailbox, now they can tell us directions to Sheila from work's house so we can get to her Christmas party.
I'm sorry. I just have to stop because you said Sheila from work. That's one of my coworkers' names. So you like, I'm like, what?
What are the chances? Like, I just picked a random name.
It's my coworker's name.
Shout out Sheila.
What up,
that
girl?
Is hilarious. So this
that's funny.
This is also the year Napster launches, wreaking havoc everywhere. So if you are not familiar, Napster is a music software that allows free downloads of pretty much any music you wanted. This made ways for LimeWire and now our legal and preferred method to listen to music, streaming. In fact, most colleges actually ban Napster from their browsers. So that's all I've got. That's the history of the internet. Did I mention what you were thinking about, or do you have another unlocked memory for us?
So this isn't technically internet related, but it's like computer related. And when you when you unlocked the CD for Kids for Internet, it reminded me of I think it was Windows 95 or 98, where Matthew Perry and Jennifer Aniston did the instruction video for one of them.
I never saw that.
I never saw it, but I saw like an advertisement.
Oh
Did I just make a new word?
Advo. That's our new word. Advo.
But yeah, so I saw that and I thought, how freaking funny is that? That's so classic 90s. So that's what it made me think of.
I need to look that up. If we can find this Jennifer Aniston and Matthew Perry CD-ROM or the video for it, it'll be in our show notes, guys.
100%. That was so good.
Thank you. What do you have for us going into the 2000s?
Yes. So sticking with the topic today of technology and the emergence, I'm going to be doing Myspace and the emergence of social media. Where I'm going to start is Myspace Tom. So I feel like
Tom is our hero.
Tom is a hero, guys. So if you don't know, to begin to even understand Myspace, it's to first understand Myspace Tom. Anyone who remembers having a MySpace profile back in the day knows what I mean. But for those who don't, let's just give a quick snippet. So, Tom Anderson began his career in 2000 as a product tester and a copywriter at XDrive, which was a digital storage company where him and Christy Wolf, who he later co-founded MySpace with, first met. And
Okay,
XDrive
hold
ended
on.
up.
I have to pause.
Mhm.
It's wild. You called him Thomas.
I know. I didn't like
I
it.
never would think that. He's just Tom.
Tom, literally. I hate it. Um, so Tom. I mean Thomas, not Thomas. I made it worse. Anyway, so their company that they were working for, XDrive, later went bankrupt, and Anderson and D. Wolf went on to found a direct marketing company called ResponseBase. After selling ResponseBase to Everse in late 2002, Anderson helped with the help of other EUverse employees set up the first pages of MySpace in August of 2003. Tom over the years has become popularly known as MySpace Tom, or Tom from MySpace, as back in the day when you first signed up for MySpace, Tom would be your first friend on your list after creating your profile. I remember Tom's generic profile picture so vividly. Do you remember?
Oh yeah. I remember being so scared. Like, who is this Tom guy? How did he become my friend? Like, I didn't understand at first, and I was so
Yeah.
creeped out by him.
I was like, ew, why? And then I noticed, like, when I would add people, they were all like, Tom was there, and everyone was like, who's Tom? I don't know, Tom from MySpace. And that's just where we
Yeah.
coined Tom from MySpace, because he was just there. And so for those who don't know, or were too young to have a MySpace, so his picture was just a picture of him sitting in front of a whiteboard with like information. It was covered in kind of red marker specifically for those who are detail oriented like me. And he's turned towards the camera smiling. And he's wearing just a generic like undershirt white tee, like nothing fancy whatsoever.
Have you seen the TikTok that came out recently where it's a girl filming and I'm pretty sure her boyfriend's on the toilet, if I had to guess right, and he's like hunched over? But she's like wheezing, like she's, like you're laughing so hard, you're whispering. She's like that, and she's like, "You look like Tom. You look like Tom." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "From MySpace."
No, but it's probably
I
gonna pop up now.
I will send it to you when we're done recording. It's hilarious.
Okay, I'm just wheezing while he's just trying to take a piss. Oh my god, that's so funny. But yeah, so it was a completely generic profile picture that never changed, and neither did the guarantee that he would be your first friend after creating your MySpace profile. So let's roll into the timeline of MySpace and kind of how it all came to be. So MySpace began in June of 2003 as a mimicked version of Friendster, which at the time in 2003 was considered a premier social media site that was popular in Malaysia, the Philippines, and Singapore. Then, right. I'd heard of Friendster, but I didn't really know what it was. Like, it was just one of those
Same.
whispers. Yeah.
So I guess that makes sense. It was popular in other countries.
Yeah. And I think it was these countries that were kind of like, they probably blocked content from other countries. Like, I know now, even for example, like China blocks Facebook. So
True.
The main founding members of MySpace were Tom Anderson as the president, Chris D. Wolf as the CEO, Josh Berman and Brad Greenspan, who was Everse's founder. Yeah,
They brought them over.
Yeah. They also utilized some of EUverse's programmers, and the project began quickly after only 10 and after wow, let me get that again. Okay. So they utilized some of the EUverse programmers, and the project began quickly, and after only 10 days, the first version of MySpace was ready to launch. It only took these programmers 10 days to create this website.
They were up day and night, probably
100%.
not sleeping. Like, it's like when we get a creative download, we have to get it out before we can go to sleep. Like, that's probably what it was.
You're right, because especially when you strike gold, and you're going, you can't stop until you've stopped. Yeah.
To be in that room, building whatever they were in, developing that, to like witness that happening.
Right. Oh my god, the stories these people have gotta have. It's, I'm sure,
Mhm.
mind-blowing. Okay, so now I'll just go from the timeline of succession to the decline of MySpace, because as we know, well, I say decline, MySpace is still around, but it's not what it used to be.
No.
So, August 1st, 2003, MySpace is officially launched. January 2004, MySpace officially launches in LA.
Mm.
February 2004, what's funny, LA is the cyber center of so many things. February 2004, MySpace has more than 1 million unique users registered.
Wow.
November 2004, right? That's so
I didn't
quick.
even have it then.
No, I'm trying to remember when I got it.
I know I got mine freshman year of high school, which for me was 2000.
I probably got it somewhere around that time. I don't think I had
Yeah.
it in middle school.
I remember people talking about it in middle school, but I had no idea what they were talking about.
I was too heavily addicted to AIM, like instant messaging at the time, so I
Yeah.
was, yeah. Then I started devoting my life to MySpace. But yeah, 2004, so only a few months from February, they have more than 5 million unique registered users. So within the year, they've already gained another 4 million people.
Wow.
July 2005, News Corp, aka Fox, purchases
Mm.
MySpace for $580 million. And
I
News
had
Corp,
no idea.
neither did I. This is crazy, right? So
Wow,
they
yeah.
bought MySpace to capitalize on the internet advertising. So, I mean, smart move.
Mm.
Yeah. And by July 2005, why did I talk like that? By July 2005, MySpace has now 16 million monthly users at this point. So we've jumped another basically 10
Dang.
million, 11
I
million.
still wanna say I haven't gotten it at this point.
This is July of 2005. So
Yeah, it's still I think in a few months is when I get it.
I feel like I might have even gotten it in 2006. I don't even know if I got it in 2005. I can't, I'll explain why, but I can't find my MySpace profile. There's a reason for it. So, ba, ba, ba.
Oh,
So January 2006, MySpace is now averaging more than 200,000 users per day.
wow.
Insane. News Corp announces plans to launch MySpace in the UK, and now 11 countries around Europe, Asia, and South America have joined MySpace. By July of 2006, MySpace surpasses Google and Yahoo as the most visited website in the United States. However, Yahoo disputes this claim, which I find kind of comical. Two websites just feuding about something in that, like that in my head just makes me laugh.
Yeah, seriously. That's
Um,
hilarious.
but I get it though, because based on your emergence of the internet, Yahoo was really like the front runner. So I see how like they
Mhm.
kind of want to like butt heads with MySpace about that.
Right.
August 2006, MySpace signs an advertising deal with Google that guarantees MySpace $900 million over 3 years. Um, this
Wow.
actually causes problems. It starts flooding pages with ads. And actually, this was when I don't know if you kind of noticed this turn of the way that ads were, but we started getting some NSFW pictures, some not so great stuff, maybe not kid friendly. You started seeing some of that stuff.
I don't
That was,
remember this.
I didn't necessarily see it, but you would kind of hear, and there was like a turn of provocativeness, I feel, with MySpace in a certain spot. Um, and so it started with this deal with Google. I guess they weren't monitoring things correctly, and they were just letting ads go out to whoever,
Oh,
whatever.
wow.
Um, and on top of it, MySpace didn't take an active role in helping resolve this issue, so it kind of gave MySpace a negative connotation to people, like as a website. And I kind of
Right.
remember this turn in people's heads because you would say MySpace and people would kind of look at you like especially adults. So I guess it was
Hmm.
around this time. And this was like when we were first getting into MySpace. So it was kind of hard. We
Yeah.
were having to thwart through this, and it was
I
Google's fault.
wonder if maybe because I didn't like I had my actual age on there as a minor, maybe I didn't have those ads directed to my browser, maybe?
Maybe I lied a little bit. I would play around with my age, so that was probably
Yeah.
my own fault. because I
Well,
wanted to
no,
be cool.
you're also not putting your personal information on the internet like my idiot ass.
Oh, no, I totally did. I probably put way too much on there, but after a while, I started, like, reverting back, but the problem with that is, as we all know, once it's there, it doesn't go anywhere, so if someone
Mhm.
wanted to find it, they could go back and find it, so
Right.
really shot myself in the foot. October 2006, MySpace is now generating 30 million per month.
Wow. Oh my
So,
gosh.
per month? But it is important to note that 50% of this revenue is due to their deal with Google. So without their advertising deal with Google, they'd only be making about 15 million per month, which is still
Still.
amazing,
Ugh, I could never spend that much money in my entire life.
right? Sounds nice. November 2006, MySpace signs a 50-50 venture deal with SoftBank so they can launch the website in Japan. And the president of News Corp, Rupert Murdoch, claims that MySpace could be approximately worth at this time $6 billion. That's with a B.
Wow.
And that that the platform will have 200 million users by mid 2007. And this is November 2006 at this point. So bold moves. He's saying he's making bold moves here.
Yeah.
So May 2007, we'll cut to News Corp purchases PhotoBucket, a free image hosting site, for 250 million.
Photo bucket. Oh
Shout
my
out.
gosh.
Uh, and at this point in 2007, in May, MySpace is currently valued at $12 billion with a B. Yeah. So July 2007, MySpace is now the most popular social network site in all European countries that exist. And it also is surpassing their rival MySpace at this point. So MySpace is a thing, or I'm sorry, what?
I was like, did we go off topic here? I was so confused.
You're like, yep, they're rivaling with themselves. Okay, let's get that one again. So, okay. So by July 2007, MySpace is the most popular social network site in all European countries that it exists in, and it is now surpassing its rival Facebook. So Facebook is a thing at this time,
Okay.
and they're directly competing, and they're surpassing them. MySpace is.
Right.
So October of 2007, MySpace announces a partnership with Skype, and now MySpace is offering Skype phone calls from PC to PC for free, as well as instant messaging. I don't remember this being a thing when I was on there. Do you?
I remember this was towards the end. I want to say this was like maybe my senior year of high school.
I never did my IMs in my MySpace. I always had two separate. If I was doing IM, it was AIM, and then I did my MySpace stuff. I was more of like a bulletin commenter girly on
Oh
MySpace.
yeah. I think this was to compete with Facebook's I am.
Mm-hmm. Which
But yeah,
I can't even stand.
I'm sorry, but you're not gonna beat the dopamine hit of new messages and new comments.
Oh my God, you're so right.
I'd rather have a
Honestly,
message than an I am.
literally, don't contact me abruptly. Give me a chance to read it and think about when I want to respond to you. Instant message means I have to instantly respond to you, and I hate that.
Oh, for me, it wasn't even that. It was like I don't know. I felt like someone wrote me a letter. It was like
Well, it was like a
personal.
bestie. It was a bestie letter. It was like a note because usually it was like your best friend that would do it. They would like come
Yeah,
and put like a little comment or whatever down, and you'd come in, you log in, you'd be like, "Oh my God, my bestie wrote me." Like,
yeah.
yeah,
It,
you're right. We're in November of 2007, and MySpace is joining Google's Open Social Alliance, which is a hosting environment where software developers write programs for social networks under a common set of standards. So it's basically they're all congregating together as the internet's kind of becoming more of what it is. They're all
right.
garnering rules for what they can do for social media network sites. And News Corp actually tries to merge MySpace with Yahoo around this time, but the merge was unsuccessful. I don't know much about that, but it didn't seem like they loved each other anyway, since they were clearly directly
Right.
competing at a point.
It sounds like Yahoo was just like if you can't beat them, join them.
Yeah. And so around 2008 is when we kind of start seeing the decline of MySpace, which is sad because it's not that long. I mean, it's only been about what 4 5 years since 5 years since launch. So
Yeah.
April 2008, Facebook has now surpassed MySpace in the term of unique worldwide visitors. And at this point afterwards, MySpace never regains its status as top dog. So this is officially the decline now. June 2008, Facebook officially surpasses MySpace in terms of overall total users. So rapid decline. March 2009, according to the CEO of News Corp, Rupert Murdoch claims that MySpace never met the promised expectations, but also didn't reach the 1 billion goal. And then the COO of MySpace, Amit Kapoor, quits the company after only a year after he was promoted. So people are starting to leave the company, the big top dogs. They're already
Right.
noticing the decline isn't going to do well, and it's probably not going to recover. April 2009, the president of MySpace, Tom Anderson, officially steps down and leaves the company. So Tom's gone now. So we now have Christy Wolf, the CEO. He was replaced from his position by a former Facebook COO, Owen Van Natta.
Hmm.
So we're trying to get some Facebook people in to see if we can get them to turn the
Yeah.
MySpace stuff over. June 2009, MySpace lays off 37.5% of its US force. So they went from
Wow.
1,600 employees to 1,000.
Wow.
Never good when you're laying staff off. Never
No.
good. They've also downsized their international staff. It was 450 employees, and they reduced all the way down to 150. That's a huge, huge
Wow.
jump.
Yeah.
August 2009, MySpace buys iLike, a social music discovery service that was popular by both MySpace and Facebook. November 2009, MySpace buys iMeme for less than 1 million with the goal to transition iMeme users and migrate their playlist into MySpace music. So now we're getting into what MySpace really is now and what we know it to currently be. It's now a music kind of hosting and producing sort of site.
Mm-hmm.
February 2010, CEO Owen Van Natta steps down. October 2010, MySpace adds a beta version of a new web design. They are no longer competing with Facebook, and instead they're going to focus on music and younger people. We're not doing the social networking stuff anymore. We're officially a music site. November 2010, MySpace changes their logo. The new format of MySpace is music, and users can now subscribe to news about their favorite artists. January 2011, MySpace staff is reduced again by 47%. February 2010, News Corp officially puts MySpace up for sale. Estimated sale was worth around 50 million to 200 million. And it shows that market research shows MySpace lost about 10 million users from January to February 2011. So in 1 month, they lost 10 million users. So February 2012, MySpace is gaining 1 million new users thanks to the new music player. June 2013, MySpace redesigns its mobile app and allows you to create and edit GIFs, whatever you prefer. October 2013, MySpace reports 36 million users. December 2015, MySpace is at an overall decline at this point, but the platform is still being used by 50.6 million unique users. And then May, there's my Mississippi right there. May 2016, over 360 million MySpace accounts data was offered to the Real Deal dark market website. More than 427 million passwords got hacked and available for sale. The leaked data included email addresses, usernames, and passwords. According to the analysts, the data was exposed around 8 years before it was made public, around mid 2008 to early 2009. So awesome.
Oof.
They're doing great with a data
Maybe
leak.
that's
And
why my Yahoo email got overloaded with spam.
probably. And then just to close it out, March 2019, MySpace lost all of their user content from 2015 and earlier due to a botched server migration. It is reported that over 50 million songs and content of over 12 years is all completely gone. And I said, this explains why we cannot find our MySpace profiles now, because it was accidentally wiped. We can't find them anymore. They're gone. They don't exist.
Oh.
So MySpace had some MySpace celebs. And
oh my goodness.
yes.
I cannot wait to see what your list consists of.
So I did, there were a lot, but I did some that were really just like influential, I should say. And MySpace really paved the way for the emergence of an influencer to happen, if you really think about it.
Totally.
These are the first influencers. So
There's one that comes to mind, and I'm curious how long it's going to take for you to name them.
I wonder which one you're talking about, because I think so my first one, I'm just going to go balls to the wall first. Tila Tequila. She was a social media personality, aka one of the first influencers. But we called them social media personalities back in the day. We're so old that we changed the name of what it actually was. She began modeling in 2001, and I say modeling lightly because she was basically just posting herself everywhere,
In a
on the internet.
bikini.
Yeah, exactly. She goes on to be one of the most popular users on MySpace, and she was dubbed the Queen of MySpace. With her newfound success and following, Tila Tequila goes on to do Shot of Love with Tila Tequila. This show is basically a bisexual version of Flavor of Love, sans the washed up rapper. So, Jeffree Star.
Yeah, that's who I was thinking of.
He used MySpace to help kickstart his career. He began on MySpace and then he moved over into YouTube, where he's most well known for his makeup tutorials. He also had a music career from the mid 2000s to 2010, where he would make.
What he was. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I was gonna say where he makes emo electronica music.
That I remember. That's what he was on MySpace. That was who he was.
I don't remember him from MySpace, so it's so funny because when I was doing the research, yeah, he wasn't on my radar for some reason.
Okay, yeah, I remember he was pretty much like a Tom. Like, he was on everybody's friend list that I noticed. So I was like, who is this guy and what's he about? And I mean, I wasn't really into him, but
So yeah, he then obviously becomes mainly famous for creating videos with shocking, colorful hair, lots of makeup and tattoos, and an unfiltered personality. Next, we also have Calvin Harris, who started his music career on MySpace. He's now one of the and now he's one of the highest paid and most in-demand DJs currently on the scene. So I thought that was cool.
Wow. Where Audrina's in the studio with him. Yeah.
And then our last MySpace celeb, Dane Cook. He's one of the most popular stand-up comedians of the 2000s, and this was thanks to his marketing tactics on MySpace. So I guess he was really good with marketing himself on there, and that's what made him famous. Again, he was definitely hot in the early 2000s. I definitely thought he was funny, and then he took a weird turn at some point too. And is he dating some like 20-year-old?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's weird.
Definitely. Yeah. Or she 18. Something like that. Like the math isn't mathing. Like, she definitely was 17 or younger when they met.
So
yeah, exactly.
All right, so now let's get into the fun stuff. So as a millennial and at one point in time a consumer of MySpace, I loved curating my profile. I want to walk through the breakdown of what they consisted of as a profile and how we curated them to be uniquely ours. Profiles were laid out pretty generically. When the page opened, on the top left was a picture, your profile picture that you picked, name, age, city that you lived in. It was basically a quick snapshot of who you were. ASL, anyone remember? And I just got to point that we were very easily identifiable on the internet back in the day. We talked about this already. We should not have been easily identified like this.
Yeah.
So profile name should have been our name, should have been something, it's Amber. However, that didn't last very long. You started with Amber and you ended up like da baby @ sign or something crazy. Like, whatever you could make it. And then also I remember one of the big trends was if you could figure out how to add the trademark, like TM or the copyright to your name. You were cool.
I had the trademark.
I did too. Cue the MySpace pose. So technically this is two things, right? So we've got the MySpace pose, which was usually just a selfie, and this was before selfies existed. And I don't know why we did this, but we basically angled it so you could get as much of your body in the length of this photo. And you usually got your arm in it. So your arm's out, stretching as far down, got as far of your body as you could get. If you could get your shoes, you were a pro. Next, cue the mirror pick.
Oh, yeah.
Always flash on. Always a dirty mirror.
This was my go-to. You
Me
were
too.
describing my go-to.
And it was always low lighting. Oversaturated.
And then I would turn it into black and white, and I looked so chic.
Oh my God. And it was always like you were just in the mirror.
Yep.
So bad. That was embarrassing for both of us. Moving on, we've got bulletins. It was one of the cringier things we did on the internet back in the day. They were basically
that was the best thing ever. Best thing ever. Take that back.
You're right. I mean, cringy to other people. I say cringy to like the Gen Zers. They'd be like, oh my God, what? But we loved it. They were basically posts that mocked an email style with the date and time at the top, a subject, which we usually just filled with something silly, and then the body. And there were a few different ways that we utilized our bulletins. One of them being surveys, which I don't even know who would create them or where you would. I think a lot of websites later on started creating surveys you could pull down, but a lot of people would just make them. And they were just questionnaires. What's your middle name, your favorite color, blah, blah, blah. But as we started getting older, they got a little bit spicier because they wanted to get information. Who's your crush? When's the last time you kissed someone? To kind of get some of that information. And it was always fun to see if you could
wild.
guess. Right?
They were wild. Like, I remember one of the questions was like, what are your thoughts on hickeys? And I remember this girl from youth group, she would always put the same thing, and she'd put, amazing to get, shitty to have.
Oh my God.
She was like a freshman.
We were always trying to be cooler than we were, I've got to say.
You reminded me of this YouTube video. I think I've told you about it, and I'm definitely going to link it in the show notes. It's called Myspace the Movie. It is a 10-minute YouTube video. Please, after you're done listening here, go watch it. It's hilarious. Yes. And it was from like 2006. So this is like prime YouTube.
And prime MySpace. So it's like perfect.
Yeah.
And then of course random bulletins, which were usually just things that we curated about like what was happening. For example, today we had the day off from school and my bestie came over. We had so much fun hanging out. Essentially, it was like a little personal blog post about what you did to make people jealous that you did something that day.
Or you would like post an inside joke and you'd make the subject their name.
Yep. Oh yeah. Anything to get people to think that you were cool, you had friends, you were doing something. Because that was basically the whole point. So, now here's all the fun stuff. So HTML and how MySpace actually got teens coding on accident. So, fun fact. So, being able to code your heart's desire out on your profile was one of the greatest features of MySpace, but it was actually a complete mistake. So in September of 2003, right after the launch of MySpace, their lead developer quit. And the remaining development team was left with a site that was written in Perl, which I think is a development software app. That's question mark, which no other employee at the time was familiar with. So the team decided to pay Game Harriman and Toan Nguyen, 2 developers for MySpace, to rewrite the entire site in Adobe's Cold Fusion. So while they were rewriting the site, they failed to block users from the ability to add HTML and CSS into their profile pages. So MySpace users across the board are now able to customize their profiles just about any way they desire. The background of their profiles, as well as add stickers, music, glitter writing, etc., whatever you could dream of, pretty much that could be coded. People could code it in. So when you came to your profile, things like a song would play immediately when you loaded. Were you a coding girly?
Oh, yeah, 100%. And even in job interviews now, like when they ask me my marketing experience, I'm like, oh yeah, I've been HTML coding since I was 13 on MySpace. I would hide my comments. I would hide my top friends. I would, make it totally custom.
It was the best. I mean, and again, MySpace really just was this social media website. I've said it a bunch of times there's never been anything like it. We're wrapping up here now, guys. I know it's been so long. I'm so sorry, but there's so much about MySpace. I like couldn't not get it all out. So I'm gonna say I really feel like the emergence of Facebook was the demise of MySpace. I don't think that's anything news to anybody. But that's it for MySpace. And like I said, don't worry if you were hoping to hear more about Facebook. You can't merge them together. They got to be separate. So I have an episode in the works to take a deep dive into Mark Zuckerberg and his whole creation of Facebook. And just to throw in, guys, my sources, the ones that I used here. So we've got, wow, that's a hard one to say. It's like Thanasisapapa it's called, yeah, that's the website. I'm not even kidding. A timeline of MySpace, your ex social media medium, Wikipedia, Code Academy, Pop Sugar, thethings.com, insider.com, hitupange.com. Yeah, that's it. Sorry, it was just going across. And then hitupange.com. So those are my sources, and we'll link them in the show notes.
Yay. Well, thank you for that. It was so nice to like travel back to, honestly, my prime.
Right? I know. I feel like that was our prime for sure.
All right, guys. Well, if you are here on day one, you've made it through our 3 episodes. Let us know which one was your favorite. Yeah, we want to know. And don't forget, rate and review. Send it in. You can email poshandplastic@gmail.com or poshandplastic on Instagram. And yeah, we got that bonus episode available if you want one more. Otherwise, we will catch you next week.